if I got invited to the white party, I'd have gone.
Especially if you didn't know.
Of course, no one knew. No one
Right.
knew.
If
And
you
then
don't know, you're
find
just
out.
a celebrity.
Sean Diddy Combs may be facing the collapse of his empire, but what's unraveling now could be far bigger than just one man. On a recent episode of Joe Rogan's podcast, guest Israel Adesanya dropped a nuclear comparison, likening Diddy's current downfall to the Epstein case. Rogan didn't flinch. In fact, he doubled down, saying the music mogul might soon start naming names.
And you know, oh, Jennifer Lopez is going to be there. Oh, Rick
That's what I'm
Ross is
saying.
going to be there. Everyone's going to be there.
And
That would be a cool place. I want to meet those people.
But he didn't mean random Hollywood players. He meant the elites, the ones in the shadows, the ones with everything to lose. According to Rogan and others, Diddy's infamous parties weren't just wild. They may have been hunting grounds for manipulation, power games, and blackmail. The feds didn't just raid his homes for Diddy's crimes. Rogan speculates they were looking for something far more dangerous. Tapes. Tapes that could destroy careers, expose networks, and shatter reputations of the most protected names in the industry.
Allegedly.
Yeah,
Cameras all over
allegedly.
the house. And
1,000 bottles of baby oil.
Yeah, what?
Add to that Rogan's mention of Prince Harry, and it becomes clear this thing might not just involve music industry insiders. The silence from those who once shared stages, business deals, and red carpets with Diddy is deafening. Everyone's watching to see if Diddy will crack, because if he does, this could become the biggest scandal Hollywood has ever seen. But it's not just the podcast world throwing gasoline on this fire. Clive Davis, the legendary music executive who helped shape Diddy's career from day one, is now acting like he barely knows him. This is the same Clive Davis who once called Diddy a visionary, stood by him during controversies, and was credited with launching Bad Boy Records into a cultural juggernaut. But after Diddy's arrest, Davis stunned the industry by pretending the two were practically strangers. That's not just a PR move, it's a survival instinct. And it raises the question, what does Clive Davis know that he's now trying to run from? Jaguar Wright, a fearless voice in the music world, claims this isn't just about Diddy. It's about the powerful men who molded him. Wright alleges that Davis didn't just mentor Diddy in business, but in behavior too.
My story was different. I just found that I would open myself up to the possibility of a relationship based on the person and not on gender.
If Diddy operated with a sense of untouchable arrogance, who planted that seed? Suddenly, what once looked like a professional bond now feels like the origin story of a carefully protected machine. And with Davis trying to erase the past, it makes people wonder, was he protecting Diddy or himself? While some mentors flee, others double down. Jermaine Dupri, Diddy's longtime friend and fellow hitmaker, has thrown his full support behind Diddy, despite the rising tsunami of allegations. Right after Diddy's mansion was raided, Dupri publicly defended him, calling the whole situation overblown. But the internet didn't take kindly to that loyalty. Dupri found himself under fire, with critics asking why anyone would stand by a man accused of such serious crimes. Some say Dupri's defense isn't about friendship. It's about fear. Bow Wow, one of Dupri's closest proteges, even joked about missing Diddy's legendary parties.
He's like the gatekeeper to the game. Like BET Award weekend, it didn't, like the past two, they just didn't feel right. Because there was no motion, there was no parties. There was nowhere to go.
Adding fuel to the theory that there was more going on behind those velvet ropes than anyone wants to admit. Were those parties just champagne and beats, or were they something far darker? Were guests left behind more than hangovers? The backlash has only grown as people question who really knew what and why they're only speaking up now. Then there's Dr. Dre, whose connection to Diddy runs deeper than most fans realize. The two icons were once as tight as moguls could be, but a 2014 fallout over a leaked Apple deal nearly ended their friendship. Tyrese Gibson's drunken Facebook video cost Dre $200 million. And it was Diddy, yes, Diddy, who reportedly alerted Dre's business partner. They patched things up later, even making music together again. But now, with Diddy facing federal charges, Dre has gone completely silent. Some believe Dre's silence is calculated. After all, an old interview just resurfaced, one where Dre admits to filming an explicit tape.
A music videotape that was stolen. Do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah, and it was a videotape that we did at my house just for my private collection. You know what I mean? Snoop was a part of it.
They got it?
The kind that's raising even more eyebrows now. And Suge Knight, never one to hold back, recently stirred the pot, claiming Dre and Diddy were both part of a secret society that used power and fear to operate above the law. Whether it's true or not, The silence from these titans is suspicious. If Dre and Diddy once built empires together, why isn't Dre defending him or distancing himself? Russell Simmons once stood at the pinnacle of the hip-hop world, a titan who helped birth Def Jam and launch countless careers, including Diddy's. But now Simmons is halfway across the globe in Bali, dodging US law and claiming spiritual enlightenment while scandals chase him like a shadow. The connection between him and Diddy isn't just professional, it's personal, foundational, and perhaps corrupted. Diddy called Simmons a mentor. They were photographed at lavish events, including a notorious bash with Jennifer Lopez in the early 2000s. And when the FBI raided Diddy's homes, Simmons was one of the first to go live, not to distance himself, but to defend him. That alone turned heads. Simmons criticized the public for turning on Diddy too quickly, saying people forget what others have done for them. But critics saw something else: projection. After all, Simmons himself faces multiple accusations of misconduct dating back to 2017, and his decision to settle in a country with no extradition treaty doesn't help his case. Court documents show he was recently served in Bali over a defamation suit connected to one of his accusers, Drew Dixon. Even more disturbing are the claims made by Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, who said Simmons, along with Clive Davis and Andre Harrell, helped shape Diddy's understanding of power and consequence, or the lack thereof. According to Deal, Diddy began to change during his time with Simmons, becoming more controlling, more entitled, and more insulated from consequence. The implication is clear. Simmons may have taught Diddy more than how to run a label. He may have taught him how to bury secrets. And now, with both men under scrutiny, their history feels less like a partnership and more like a shared blueprint for how to rise and how to fall. Anna Wintour's name might not be the first you associate with Diddy, but her influence on his rise in the fashion world was undeniable. As the editor-in-chief of Vogue and one of the most powerful figures in fashion, Wintour helped open doors for Diddy that no one else could. Doors that led straight into elite circles, usually close to people from the music industry. From the moment they met, Diddy treated her like a guiding light, crediting her with helping him transition from music mogul to fashion icon. She backed him publicly, placed him in glossy spreads, and gave him credibility as a designer. She even inspired tracks on his 2010 album Last Train to Paris. But as the legal heat around Diddy has intensified, Wintour's once glowing support has turned into calculated silence. During Paris Fashion Week, where her presence usually commands the front row, she was reportedly evasive when asked about Diddy. Industry insiders say she's frustrated and trying to quietly cut ties, not because of guilt, but because of image management. While there's no evidence she had knowledge of Diddy's alleged misconduct, the public is now questioning why so many powerful people, especially someone like Wintour, embraced him so readily. Did she see something and ignore it, or was she simply swept up in the brand Diddy built so meticulously? As fashion circles buzz with uncomfortable questions, Wintour's lack of comment is becoming its own kind of answer. And that silence, coming from someone who helped craft Diddy's high fashion image, is beginning to sound deafening. Jay-Z's bond with Diddy runs deep, deeper than most people realize. They rose through the gritty streets of New York's rap scene together, transformed from hustlers to moguls, and stood shoulder to shoulder at some of hip-hop's most iconic moments. They celebrated wins together, from platinum records to lavish parties, and even honored each other publicly, like when they appeared together at DJ Khaled's Walk of Fame ceremony in 2022. Their brotherhood looked unbreakable. But now, as Diddy's empire begins to crumble under the weight of trafficking charges and federal indictments, Jay-Z has gone completely silent. No tweets, no statements, no subtle nods of support. That silence is raising eyebrows, because it's not like Jay-Z to ignore a moment this big, especially one involving someone he once called family. Some insiders speculate he's distancing himself strategically. After all, Jay-Z has his own empire to protect. Roc Nation, his sports agency, his billion-dollar ventures. A scandal of this magnitude, with Diddy at the center, threatens to ripple outward and stain anyone too closely linked. And while there's no public evidence tying Jay-Z to Diddy's alleged crimes, fans are starting to wonder, how much did he know? Could he have seen red flags but chosen loyalty over accountability? Or is he quietly preparing for the storm to pass before re-emerging? Either way, his silence isn't just a void, it's a headline in itself. Because when your most loyal friend won't say your name, the public starts to question everything. Now all eyes turn to the courtroom, where the stakes couldn't be higher. On May 5th, 2025, Sean Diddy Combs is set to stand trial in what could become one of the most explosive cases in entertainment history. The charges against him are staggering: trafficking, coercion, and orchestrating a criminal network that allegedly preyed on vulnerable women. Prosecutors say Diddy didn't act alone. He built an entire ecosystem around exploitation, using his fame, wealth, and power to silence victims and protect himself. The evidence paints a chilling picture of so-called freak-off parties, where participants were allegedly pressured into disturbing acts, some unaware of what they were walking into until it was too late. Prosecutors have already lined up key witnesses, some of whom have never spoken publicly before, and they're armed with surveillance footage, texts, emails, and detailed testimonies. According to the indictment, Diddy didn't just host these parties, he designed them, directed them, and benefited from them while relying on a network of enablers to keep it quiet. If convicted, he could face a minimum of 15 years. But insiders say the prosecution may push for life. And this isn't just about prison time. A guilty verdict would mark the absolute collapse of Diddy's decades-long career, ending his reign not just in music, but in fashion, television, and business. The case has already drawn comparisons to Weinstein and Epstein, but with one key difference: Diddy hasn't gone silent. He's fighting. His legal team claims this is a media-driven takedown, a high-profile witch hunt with more leaks than justice. But if the government's evidence holds up, it won't be the media that ends Diddy's empire. It'll be the gavel. Inside the cold, claustrophobic walls of Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, Diddy now lives a life that's the polar opposite of the luxury he once flaunted. This isn't a holding cell. It's a slow descent into psychological warfare. Known for its harsh conditions, MDC houses over 1,200 inmates, including high-profile figures like R. Kelly and Sam Bankman-Fried. And Diddy has now joined their ranks. His lawyers have described the environment as inhumane, sweltering in the summer, freezing in the winter, and packed with tension. Fights break out often. Medical care is minimal. Mental health services are overrun. And Diddy, once a man surrounded by security, stylists, and chefs, now lives by the rules of a prison routine that strips him of all identity. Wake-up calls at 6 a.m., showers every other day, cheap meals served at fixed hours. Think soggy scrambled eggs, chili mac, or processed Salisbury steak. Designer suits and silk shirts have been replaced by standard-issue jumpsuits, used undergarments, and thin socks. Even his communication is heavily restricted. Just 300 minutes of monitored phone calls a month and limited text-only email access. Guards monitor his every move through cameras, and he's subjected to regular strip searches. The psychological toll is starting to show. Diddy is reportedly under constant watch, with his mental state becoming a growing concern for his attorneys. His legal team has used these conditions as part of their argument to seek pre-trial release, but every request has been denied. The government fears he could flee or tamper with witnesses. So now the man who once ruled red carpets and chart-topping hits is locked in a 6x9 cell, eating vending machine-grade food and preparing for the fight of his life, not on a stage, but in front of a jury. As if Diddy's legal saga wasn't already dominating headlines, a new wave of controversy erupted when viral footage linked him to two of the most powerful political figures in the US, Barack Obama and Kamala Harris. The internet exploded when a photo surfaced in May 2024, showing Diddy alongside Obama, just as federal agents raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. The image, which some claim the media was trying to hide, quickly spread across TikTok and Instagram, prompting a storm of conspiracy theories. Users speculate wildly, accusing the political elite of attending Diddy's alleged satanic ritual parties, despite zero verified evidence. While no direct ties between Obama and Diddy's criminal accusations have been proven, the timing of the image going viral fueled public suspicion. Making things messier, another old photo of Kamala Harris with talk show host Montel Williams was digitally altered to insert Diddy's face, falsely suggesting she attended one of his events. That fake image was even shared on Truth Social by Donald Trump himself, who used it to fan the flames of controversy around Harris during the election cycle. Though the doctored image was eventually deleted, it had already gone viral, sparking retaliatory posts showing Trump with Diddy, adding another layer of irony. Comedians like Jimmy Kimmel jumped in, ridiculing the tactic of using fake images to smear political opponents, while ignoring Trump's own history with Diddy. Meanwhile, tech giants like Microsoft warned of Russian-backed campaigns deploying deepfakes to manipulate public opinion, especially against Harris. Elon Musk added to the chaos by sharing a distorted AI video of her voice, further muddying the waters of truth and fiction. And while none of this definitively ties Obama or Harris to Diddy's alleged crimes, the digital storm shows how easily public perception can be weaponized. The moment a powerful name appears beside Diddy's in a photo, real or fake, It's enough to set the internet on fire. The question is, how much of this is distraction, and how much of it is uncovering something darker hiding in plain sight? The most chilling turn in this spiraling saga came not from lawyers, celebrities, or pundits, but from a survivor, Ali Carter, whose name had previously floated beneath the surface of online discourse, stepped into the spotlight with a bombshell, her detailed, emotionally raw testimony about what allegedly happened at Diddy's notorious white parties. These events, once seen as the pinnacle of Hollywood glamour, are now being re-examined under the darkest of lenses. In viral videos and past interviews resurfacing across social media, Carter claimed these weren't just decadent gatherings. They were orchestrated nightmares cloaked in satin and celebrity. She described satanic rituals, coercion, and horrifying acts involving not only adults, but children, stating plainly that she had warned people back in 2021 that Diddy would one day be arrested. According to her, these parties were carefully curated to shield those in power and silence those victimized. The reaction online was instant and explosive. Supporters flooded platforms like X and TikTok with hashtags like Believe Ollie and Protect Survivors, while skeptics demanded proof. But what made Carter's words harder to dismiss was their consistency and the emotional cost. She didn't just recount her experiences, she laid bare how her life unraveled after coming forward. Carter revealed how her family lost their home, how she battled institutional indifference from the very systems designed to protect her, and how she's been left to fight not only for justice, but for basic survival. She accused Riverside County Child Protective Services of ignoring critical evidence and cautioned other survivors not to rely on high-profile hotlines, suggesting that some of them may be more invested in image than in action. For Carter, support wasn't about money or fame, it was about being believed and heard. She called out celebrities like Oprah, who she alleged attended some of these events, and emphasized that protecting children should matter more than reputations. As Diddy's empire buckles under legal scrutiny, it's voices like Carter's that are forcing the public to reconsider not just what happened, but how it was allowed to happen for so long. The image of Diddy as a mogul, a fashion icon, a party king, that's already fading. What remains now are the stories, the evidence, and the reckoning that's long overdue. And now, with the trial date looming and the walls closing in, the question isn't just whether Diddy will be found guilty, it's whether an entire era of silence, celebrity protection, and unchecked power is finally coming to an end. This case isn't only about a single man's fall from grace. It's about the machinery that propped him up, the high places he was invited into, and the powerful people who looked the other way, enabled him, or learned from him. From Joe Rogan's explosive podcast speculations to the haunting testimony of Ali Carter, every piece of this unraveling puzzle points to something far bigger than tabloid drama. It's a portrait of how fame, wealth, and status can distort accountability, and how hard it is to get justice when those with the most to lose are also the best protected. But things are changing, survivors are speaking, receipts are surfacing, and even the most untouchable reputations are starting to crack. Whether Diddy spends the rest of his life behind bars or not, one thing is certain, his name will no longer be spoken with awe, but with caution. And for those who once stood beside him in silence, that silence may no longer protect them. The world is watching, and this time, it's not looking away.